Hi and greetings from Malaysia. My name is Hazriati Salehuddin and I'm presenting at COHDA 2014 Hiroshima. The title of my paper today is Developing a Positive Researcher Character Among Postgraduates Through a Change in a Postgraduate Course. I'm presenting on behalf of my colleagues, Radha Nambia and Noraini Ibrahim, and all three of us are from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, or also known as the National University of Malaysia. So why have we come up with such a research topic? Well, it's all started out with a problem. Right? We at the School of Language Studies and Linguistics have several programs, and among them is MAELS, which is Masters of Arts in English Language Studies. All right, and this program involves a combination of 70% of coursework and 30% of research component. All right, but sad to say is the fact that the students, some of them, shows inability to work on the 30% of the research component ethically. All right, what we mean by ethically? Well, no doubt all of them have the ability to submit the projects, the mini projects that they had to do throughout the coursework. But however, what we see is that some of them are not able to submit unplagiarized work. Okay, some of them actually submitted plagiarized work, and what we would like to say here is that this is definitely not a positive character. And because of that, the aim of this paper is, or this study, is to develop a positive researcher character through a change in the course. All right? So we introduce several steps, and among them are a talk on plagiarism as well as a topical presentation. But the focus of this paper is a talk on plagiarism. And this is just to show you some of the things that we have made. I mean, some of the changes that we have made in the course to develop them into a positive researcher character. But as I've said earlier, the focus of this paper would be on the talk on plagiarism and how effective it is. And to look at how effective it is, we look at the reflective diary writing, which they wrote during the entire course, right? So we started out with discussing with them the etymology of the word plagiarism. We told them that the word plagiarism came from Latin plagiarius, if I pronounce it correctly. And we also showed them that this word actually means a kidnapper, seducer, and plunderer. And we made them think whether or not these words that they see in the bubble are actually positive or negative words, and we all agreed that these are actually negative words. So we also asked them if they will ever be caught if they plagiarized, and our answer were definitely a yes, because of the fact that we told them that the lecturers are well read, so a lot of sentences will be familiar to them. All right, and the lecturers also know them personally and their voice, okay, because we interact with them more often than not in classes, so we know what kind of sentences or structures they are able to produce. And also because of the fact that the lecturers may get the same material from other students. Later on, I proceeded with giving them I think about 7 scenarios on whether or not they know whether they are plagiarizing when they did something. So for example, the first scenario is to ask them whether are we plagiarizing if we use the ideas of another author, but we present the ideas in our own words without providing a reference. So what I did was to cut and paste a sentence from an article, paraphrase this sentence, and then they were asked whether or not this is a scenario of plagiarism, and we all agree that it is a yes. And I didn't just stop there. What I did further was to tell them how not to plagiarize. All right, and this is a tool that they can use to actually avoid plagiarizing. So this includes rephrasing or rewriting what we have read or what they have read, and also to provide a citation, i.e. the source where that piece of work was taken or the idea was taken. So I repeated the use of this, okay, you see, but I emphasized the fact that they have to include the citations, okay. So Salihuddin and Winskill, 2009 here. So after having gone through all that, I summed up with take-home messages, okay. All right, so we started out with word for word. All right, scenarios. We had 7 scenarios, remember? So this summary, we started out with word for word. Okay, what happens or what do you do when you do word for word copying? All right, so I emphasized on the fact that they have to use quotation marks and then to include the author, the year, and the page number. And if they paraphrase certain sentences, they just include the author and the year. Okay, and when there are figures and tables that they copied directly from the texts, all right, they had to include the direct quotation marks as well as the author, year, and page number. And if they change certain words to the synonyms but maintaining the structure of the sentences, all right, they have to include also the author as well as the year. And that if they use the ideas of the author but not using the sentences of the authors, they still have to include the author as well as the year. And finally, if they use the author's name in the sentence structure, for example, Salihuddin stated that something, 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 they have to include the year, the date of publication took place. So I hope you remember that we had the component where they have to write a reflective diary just to find out how they feel about the talk on plagiarism. Well, this is actually a combination of a compilation of the things that we have found in the reflective diary. All right, we ask them whether or not they know what plagiarism is before the talk, and 3 of them indicated that they have never heard of what plagiarism is, whereas 8 of them indicated that they have heard what plagiarism is but not sure what it is, and 7 of them indicated that they have heard what plagiarism is and they know it. All right. However, when asked whether or not their knowledge have improved with regard to the effect of the talk on plagiarism, 8 of them indicated that the knowledge on plagiarism is better than before, and what is more interesting is the fact that 10 of them actually indicated that they can now explain what plagiarism is to their friends. We also look at the diary from the qualitative perspective, and 3 of these feedback that they give, I think, is the most interesting ones. Okay, one of them wrote that I'm more aware of this issue after this lesson, and now I am much clearer about what plagiarism is as well as how to avoid this problem. So mind me about their grammar, but I take it word for word to show that this is actually from the bottom of their hearts. All right. Next is, it is an exciting lecture because it reinforcement with many examples and use a simple words to explain the main object. We thanks your efforts to make an interesting lecture. And finally, yes, I think it is very important thing to explain this term in the first semester to all postgraduate students to avoid plagiarism for the first time. And finally, we also asked them whether or not we should replicate the talk, and their answers were positive. And among them, they said yes, because most postgraduate students, especially international students, don't have a clear idea about plagiarism. And yes, because it is important for all students before they embark on their thesis writing. And with that, I thank you, and I'm Hazriati Salihuddin from University Kebangsaan, Malaysia. Thank you very much for your time.